Hello everyone. The Francis family was in court this morning. An agreement has been made and some of Mica's personal belongings will be turned over to her family attorney after lawyers from her family and her husband, John Paul Miller, reached an agreement today.
The parties have agreed that would be Sierra Francis on behalf of her sister Mica. She stands in as the plaintiff for Mica at this point, and Mr. Miller have agreed that that property will be released from the Robeson County Sheriff's Department when all authorities are finished with that property and have no longer any use for it. In other words, they've finished up whatever investigations or whatever they need that property for, then that property is going to be turned over to my office. It will not be released to Mr. Miller. And that does not mean that he doesn't have the right to see what's on a cell phone, which we're all interested in looking at. We also don't know what else may have been in the purse or the wallet or anything like that.
Let it be known he was advised by his attorney, not by the goodness of his heart, by his attorney, to allow them to get the property in Mica's family's possessions. Now the property would be her cell phone, what was in her bag, her wallet, the car goes back to her godmother, and so on. Mica's attorney said authorities still have Mica's phone and purse and that those items could be useful in pursuing civil action. She also said that a wrongful death suit against John Paul Miller was being considered. Quote, "There seems to me that there could be a civil action, not against the police. The police, under the circumstances, responded appropriately under what was happening at that time. I respectfully disagree. But there are other things that happened that are related to this church." Quote. Another thing the family wanted to touch on in this press conference this morning was the introduction of Micas Law. Now, it's a shame that this was never signed years ago because this potentially could have saved her life and so many others, but we can create change now. So let's take a listen to what Micas Law entails.
This bill lays out types of behavior to look for. Now, I don't know if you saw or you remembered, but there was an interview that was done of me that said, hey, do you think, what do you think about the police and what they did? Well, here's what I think. I think the police didn't have anything to look to. They show up, they look for bruises. They look for black eyes. They look for scratches. They look for those types of things. And not seeing any, no crime here. They don't have a law to look to. Now, let me read you some of these behaviors that had this been a law at the time, the police officers would have had something to look to and to gauge it. The offense of coercive control of another person may include, but is not limited to, the following types of behavior. The very first one, isolating a person from their family and friends. In and of that self, that is not a crime. Next is depriving a person of their basic needs, food, shelter, clothing. The next one is monitoring a person's time. That's done a number of ways. Trackers, PIs, looking through their cell phones, looking at what they're doing online, driving by the job, who you talking to, where you at. D, subsection D, monitoring a person via online communication tools. The interesting thing here is when people are married and the police are called to a domestic situation, usually what happens is they're told by the police officers, because this is what they get to go to, is, ma'am, sir, this sounds like a domestic issue. You need to go see a family court lawyer, or you need to go file something in family court. Well, the first thing that a coercive control abuser does is take away your money, take away your transportation, and your way of communication and the friends that support you. How are you going to get there? How are you going to pay for it? Going on to the next one, E says taking control over aspects of a person's everyday life, including where the person may go, who the person may see, what a person may wear, and when a person may sleep. Next is depriving a person access to support services and medical services. Next is repeatedly insulting a person, including expressing the person's worthlessness. Enforcing rules and activities within the home that humiliate, that degrade, and dehumanize a person. Next is forcing a person to take part in criminal activity, including shoplifting and neglect or abuse of children. Children are often used as tools and weapons against the one that they want to dominate. They also encourage the person's self-blame and prevent disclosure to authorities. If you tell, this is what's going to happen to you. Next is financial abuse, including control of finances and only allowing a person a punitive allowance. You don't need to get your hair done. It looks fine. You don't need the money for that. You don't need a new set of boots. You got plenty. Next is threats to hurt or kill. That's a lot. Threats to a child, threats to reveal or publish private information or extort the person or a member of the person's family in retaliation or other means. Holding you down, won't let you up. Those are physical abuse that don't leave marks. The police come, they don't see marks. You can't do much. This will give them the tool that they need. It needs to be education about what coercive control is. Someone who's not lived in it or been a part of it sometimes has a difficulty wrapping their mind around what this is. Coercive control is basically like a psychological warfare. It will damage the very soul of a person. It will make them doubt and lose their self-confidence and especially their self-worth. And they'll give up. They'll give up on being happy. And they'll survive and trudge through day by day, or maybe they won't. What this family wants you to do is to help this. We want Micas Law. We want the coercive control bill to be looked at, taken seriously, put some time into it. And somebody make an amendment. You add your name as a sponsor and make an amendment to call it Micas Law.